Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 15, season 2 of Career Girl Chats. My name is Anna O, and I am the founder of Career Girl Lifestyle. I am so excited about tonight's topic. We will be talking about side hustles and building multiple streams of income. Today, we will be talking to Feyi and Kacy Alexis, who are both side hustle professionals. Feyi is the host of the Side Hustlepreneur, where she teaches millennials the intro stages of turning their skills into income. And Kacy is a side hustle strategist who helps women to start, build, and retain their side hustles while working their 9 to 5s. So without further ado, we are going to jump right into this discussion. Hi, Kacy. How are
Hey,
you?
I'm good. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. I'm just waiting for Feyi to join us. So
Okay.
while we're waiting for Feyi, if you can just give the ladies that are on here right now just a brief introduction about yourself, who you are, what you do, and yeah.
Okay, sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Kacy Alexis, and I'm a side hustle strategist. As Anna said, I help women create strategies around starting, building, and retaining their side hustles while working their 9 to 5s. And like I said, I just basically became my own inspiration to start this business after being an entrepreneur for so long. It's definitely something that I've wanted to do. I've always wanted to help other women get to that other level and realize just because you work a 9 to 5, it doesn't mean you can't have a side business or be an entrepreneur. So that's just a little bit about me.
Yes, and we have Feyi here. Hi, Feyi. Welcome to Career Girl
Hey,
Chats.
thank
If you could
you.
just start off, like Kacy, telling the ladies about yourself as well as your brand, the Side Hustlepreneur.
Hi, everyone. So my name is Faye, whichever one. And I am the face behind the Side Hustlepreneur. And so basically, that is just a brand that focuses on teaching millennial women, specifically millennial women, the introductory stages of building a side hustle. So I'm happy to be here and I'm excited to just kind of have this chat with all the side hustle strategists.
So, can you ladies tell us about what inspired you to want to help other women build multiple streams of income through side hustles?
Okay, so yeah, so basically what inspired me was basically becoming an entrepreneur at a young age and not really knowing where to start, and that at that time social media was a thing, but it wasn't to the point where I could just go on there, find resources or find mentors or find people in the same industry as myself. So now that I'm older, now that I've had experiences, now that I've learned new lessons, it's just been an inspiration, and I want to, create that path and be that resource to women who feel like they don't have a resource to start their side hustles. So that's basically been my whole inspiration around starting my coaching business around, helping women with their side hustles while they work their 9 to 5.
I love it.
Yes. So I think for me, it was more so, as I kind of told you a little earlier, tapping into the side hustle industry at the age of 13 kind of showed me a whole new world outside of just kind of working a 9 to 5 or having to trade time for dollars. And so my friends usually joke around and be like, anything that you touch, it turns into gold and you make money. But the reality is, like, it wasn't limiting. It didn't have to be limited to just me. I'm a believer that I believe that everybody can have a side hustle, and I believe that everyone has a gift or a skill or a talent that can be monetized as long as they have the right strategies and the right tools and the right resources. And so as I would like basically talk to my friends and be like, you could do this, and I'd like map out their entire business plan in like 5 to 10 minutes, I realized, okay, this is something that I could really do and help other people outside of just like my circle of friends and family. And so I decided to basically start sharing with people how I was able to make $5,000 a month, just simply baking cookies and cakes and cupcakes, but not having prior experience to it, prior experience in it. And, you know, turning my makeup business into something that was big, like just being able to say, this is my experience and this is how I've been able to do it. And then also, because I've been able to help other people, let me now bring it to a platform like social media and Instagram, to really just be able to help other women discover their skill sets. Because the reality is, a lot of people think that some of their most simple skills can actually be monetized and somebody would be willing to pay them for it. So yeah.
Yes, and we're going to get into that too, because that's actually one of my questions is what skills can we turn, you know, into some income? My second question is, why do you ladies believe it's necessary for women specifically to have side hustles? Like, what are, besides the income, of course, what are some of the other benefits that we don't always, you know, think of when we think of side hustles?
Yeah, so definitely. So my first point is basically just having a side hustle gives you something to fall back on if something were to happen with your 9 to 5, because things happen. You know, God forbid something did happen. At least you know, hey, I have my side hustle now. I have time to actually build and scale this side hustle now to a full-time job. You know, what I was doing half-time, now I actually have the time to do full-time and make more money doing it. My second point is basically it's just a getaway. Like after you leave your 9 to 5 and all of the stresses and things like that, like this is a getaway. Like this is something for me, something I enjoy doing outside of my
Right.
life. So, you know, it's just like you don't have to report to anyone at that time. Once you clocked out at 5 o'clock, it's now you time. It's your time. You know, it's your business. You don't have to report to anyone. You're on your own pace. So it's like a complete getaway, and it's something that you're planning. It's all yours. You know, you don't have to share it unless you are partnering with someone, but it's basically almost just like a getaway. And I think we should always just think of it like that, like it is. It can be stressful, yes, but also just look at the positive side of it. And it's something outside of work, it's something that you can keep your mind off of those things.
Yeah, I love that mindset. Faye?
Yeah, I mean, I think she kind of nailed it. For me, I think women just need to kind of tap into the realization that with having a side hustle, it brings about freedom. Like you said, outside of income, it's the freedom to be able to control the levels, the amount of money that you want to make. When you have your regular 9 to 5, you're kind of boxed in with a salary or hourly job. But with your side hustle, the amount that you can make, it's endless. You know, so I think the freedom is one way to look at it. The freedom for how much money you can make, the freedom of what you can do with the money. Think about it this way. If you have a 9 to 5 and you're making a certain amount of money, when you decide to now have a side hustle, this is extra money. So whether you're using that money to pay down debt, you're using that money to plan for your vacation with your girls or your family, or you're using that to pay off some type of loan, whatever it is that you're using it for, there's so many reasons that are in that word freedom for you that it just makes sense to be able to have a side hustle.
Yes, absolutely. And speaking of the money, so both of you ladies work with other women. You have clients who you help. So as far as your clients, because I'm sure you can't answer for all the women in the world, but for your clients on average, how much extra income are these women bringing home?
Yeah, I would definitely say it just all depends on what industry you go into. And I just say, like, for an example, if someone to go into the beauty industry, we know that's always popping, like getting our hair, nails, lashes, all of that's done. But just for an example, say somebody did hair on the side, and on the weekends, say she does two heads on Saturday, 2 heads on Sunday, and charges $200 per head. That's $800 that she's made in that weekend. And there's 52 weeks in a year. So if you multiply that, that's $41,000 that she made in that year, which is basically a full-time salary, an average
Right.
full-time salary. So outside of her 9 to 5, pretty much doubled her salary doing something that she enjoys doing. So, you know, that's just an example. There are several other things and much more money that can be made. But as an example, just to start, that's a good place to start.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How about you,
Yeah,
Faye?
I agree. Casey basically nailed it. It's really depends. It depends on the client, and it depends on the field that they're in. So I guess like more of an example would be, I had a girl who, she started off doing a strawberry, like dipped chocolate strawberry business. And she didn't think that it was going to be, you know, much of like anything. It was like, oh, well, it's chocolate covered strawberries, you know, it is what it is. But her first, when she first launched and she first like promoted it, she ended up getting about 32 orders in the first, like in her first business, in her first launch. And so she was just kind of like, whoa, like that is not, that's not what I was thinking. So I think it really just depends on what field you're in. I mean, most of my clients have had the opportunity to kind of exceed the amount of customer base that they, you know, that they wanted to start off with. But it varies. I mean, Kacy did the breakdown, but it really just varies on what field.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. You kind of touched on this a little bit, Faye. But what are some common misconceptions about side hustles and having multiple streams of income? And can you ladies debunk some of those myths? Like you said, some people, I think it was Kacy, you said some people are really scared because of the amount of time they think is gonna, you know, be put into the side hustle. But what are some other misconceptions that, you know, you ladies normally hear, like, especially when you're talking to some of your newer clients who have those fears?
Definitely. So yeah, just like I said earlier, the biggest misconception is time. People think, okay, as soon as I'm done with my 9 to 5, the rest of my day is going to be spent doing my business. However, you know, if you just plan properly and you do your research on what it is that you want to go into, you'll know how much time you actually need to spend. And it also is based upon your goal. You know, how much clients do you want to get? You know, how much time do you want to spend? How much money do you want to make? It's all based on, that's based on the time that you need to put in your business. So if I want to make 6 figures, yeah, as soon as I get off my 9 to 5, I'm gonna be working on that business. You know, so, or I'm not gonna be going out on the weekends all the time. I'm gonna be at home creating my business plan. I'm gonna be building my brand, you know, doing those different things. So definitely I would say time is the biggest thing I hear, is the biggest misconception.
Yeah, I agree. I think time definitely is big. And then I also think people don't think too much about like the customer base. They feel like, well, if I don't know a lot of people, then because I'm not really social or because I don't talk to a lot of people, I'm not going to be able to make a lot of money. And one of the things that, you know, you kind of help people realize is that when you're clear about who it is that you're servicing, it's not about the people that you know, because a lot of times the people that you know aren't even your ideal clientele or your ideal customer base. So I would say that's probably one of like another myth outside of like the time portion, where it's not about who you know, it's about how you're packaging your stuff and actually being able to reach those people who are interested in what you're, you know, you're selling.
I'm sure all the women on here want to know this. What are some of the most profitable side hustles out there? Like, especially in 2021, like what's making the money?
Yeah, so based off of just last year and when the pandemic started, some of the businesses that I have seen grown and have been making good profits have been virtual assistants, because you know everyone has been working from home, so people have been needing assistance to help them with their businesses, still help them build their businesses, but they're able to do it virtually. Like your virtual assistant can be in California, you can be in Virginia, so it doesn't matter. You can have that industry, you can have clients wherever, you can help businesses all across the country. So that's definitely a hot spot. Also saw like e-commerce businesses also came up, like candle businesses, skincare, beauty products, clothing, shoes, just those. And then also coaching businesses.
Yes.
That's, you know, that's when I started mine, but there are so many coaches and I didn't even realize it until just being on Instagram and just seeing more people. There are coaches literally for everything, for your website, teaching you how to do technology, teaching you about your automations, coaching you on how to start businesses. So there are so many coaches out there that women can take advantage of. And these are the resources that I felt like I didn't have before that we now have. So those have definitely been some of the ones that I've saw.
Yeah, and again, I think digital products, especially in this last year, has been the biggest thing. I mean, I spoke about it in one of my stories yesterday, but just being able to package your knowledge, and being able to package your knowledge in a way where you can teach others about what it is that you know is a very big industry for people. I've seen people who, especially last year, took like their knowledge of like stocks, for instance, and put it into like an ebook, or put it into a course and into a class, or turned it into a podcast and started getting sponsorship. Like, I think digital product and just being able to take your knowledge, let people know about your knowledge, people being interested in that and start following you, or interacting with you, and you building a community. I think that's been a really good way to make money just simply by being home.
Yeah, definitely. And I feel like what Kacy said, I feel like during the pandemic, I saw a whole bunch of coaches just like come out of nowhere.
Yeah. Now you gotta be careful of them.
Are there any other side hustles that like we don't realize like we could do? Because I was talking to my cousin before this, and she was like, "Oh, you know, like dog walking is good too. If you like dog, like just she's like literally anything can be a side hustle." Are there any other ones that we tend to overlook?
Yeah, Kacy, I don't know if you wanted to go real quick or.
Yeah, the only couple of things that I was thinking of, just as we as women don't really think about, is something actually that I plan to get into, but it's like real estate investing. You know, that's primarily a male dominant industry. So it's not something that we feel like we can get into. But however, I'm definitely thinking about diving into that.
Go for it.
But yeah, like Faye said, the stocks and investing, and both of those are like industries where once we learn about it, we can then expand and start educating other people about it. So there's almost two side hustles in one. So you're interacting in stocks, or either you're interacting in real estate, and then also you're educating people on it. So that's definitely something I think we can get involved in more.
Yeah, and I see my girl Steph. She said food. That's right.
Food.
Like the restaurants would definitely booming with the take home, meal orders.
Yeah.
Definitely food.
Yeah, and I also think like even if you don't, I think it's also important to note like kind of what your friend said about like dog walking. I think it's important to also kind of just talk about the fact that sometimes you might not necessarily have a skill, but Uber Eats, DoorDash, Instacart, Amazon Flex. Like there's so many different areas where maybe your idea of side hustling might not be necessarily creating something for yourself, but just taking what's already available and just, utilizing the hours that you have. Maybe you're going to Walmart and shopping for yourself, but while you're there, you're doing somebody else's shopping. So when you're done, you're dropping off their stuff, but it wasn't really time wasted or gas burned because you were already headed in that direction regardless. So there's just so many avenues to side hustle.
Yeah, I like that perspective too. Like everything doesn't have to be built from scratch. You could just kind of join something, that's already created. But let's say you do want to start something from scratch, right? How do you know which side hustles are best for you? Like what questions do you want to ask yourself when you're thinking about creating a side hustle business?
Okay, so I'll touch on this. I actually have a service based around this whole question here for women who want to start a side hustle but don't know what kind of side hustle they can start. And it's called a side hustle by a questionnaire, and it goes through several questions. So it helps me and that client narrow down what's the best side hustle for them. And just a couple of questions from my questionnaire that I asked. The first one is, what do you enjoy doing outside of your full-time job? Like, what do you enjoy? What things do you do? What do you do in your spare time? What do your friends say you're good at? What do people compliment you on? So a couple things. And then also, is that something that you can make a livable wage off of if you didn't have your 9 to 5? So I do ask that question, because some people do want to scale their side hustles enough so they can leave their 9 to 5s. So I try to dig into that so they can know, hey, this is a livable wage, or hey, this is not, or what they need to do basically to be where they want to be, or how they want to scale that side hustle.
Yeah, similar. Basically same thing. So I have a free mini course called Skills That Sell. And so that basically breaks it down into three parts, which is basically what you love, what people, would be willing to pay, and then how to actually attract your client. So I think like the main thing, kind of going back to your question, is a lot of people kind of get caught up in having so many ideas. And so one of the simplest ways for your process of elimination is the questions that Kacy asks, and then also figuring out if that's something that people would be willing to pay you for, because you can be a lover of collecting coins or have this like massive gum collection, and don't nobody want the stale gum that you collected on the side, you know what I mean? So you have to be able to list out like the things that you feel that you're good at or the things that you're interested in, and then combine that with what people would be willing to pay you for. So once you're able to kind of merge that, you'll be on your way to a profitable side hustle.
Right. So let's talk a little bit about strategy, ladies. What are some things that you want to do in the early stages of, setting up your side hustle to ensure that it is successful when you launch? Because you mentioned there was a girl with the strawberry dip, and she didn't think that she was going to do good, but she had 32 orders on launch day. But I'm sure there was strategy behind that. So what are some things that you ladies do with your clients to make sure that on launch day things, they go well?
Yeah, definitely. Faye kind of talked about this earlier, and it's basically in the beginning, you have to know who your target market is, because if you don't, who are you showing up for? Who are you speaking to? Who are you marketing your product or your service to? That's just something that you have to know. You have to know who you're catering to, because when people get online and they may see your product or their service, and they may be confused. So it needs to, you don't actually have to say, oh, Black women or 32 and under. It doesn't have to be that, but it has to be something that I feel like if I'm your target client, I need that. So you have to know who your target market is, in order to start to be successful.
Yeah, and just to piggyback off of that, knowing your target market and then getting your target market excited about what you're offering. So even before you launch what you're trying to launch, kind of having like a pre-launch phase where you are excited, getting people excited, and it's like, this is coming, and I know you're gonna love this because of X, Y, and Z. Like getting them really excited about what it is that you're about to bring to the table, so that way by the time you launch, boom, you're there, and they're just like, I've been waiting for you to come and drop this product, and you just go from there. So identifying that, the main thing is definitely being very clear about who you're targeting, but then getting those people that you're targeting excited so that they actually want to buy into your product.
Yeah.
Right. Is there like a checklist, like a mental checklist, besides like the marketing and everything? Are there other things that you want to have in place, like a landing page or a website,
Oh
or
yeah, of course. Yeah, you
yeah, like
definitely
what are those things that you want to have in place?
so you definitely want to have everything. You want to have your email set up. The thing is, I don't encourage people to go too deep into like the like setting up your trademarks and your copyrights and doing all that stuff, because the reality is like you don't know exactly how well the side hustle is going to do. So I would hate for people to focus so much on paying for like the behind the scenes legal stuff, only for them to end up not even going through with the side hustle. That ends up being wasted
Right.
money. But I guess like the main thing that you can have your EIN, that's free. But have an email, like your email setup, have a way that you are collecting payments, such as like PayPal or Square or something like that. Have a an actual way for people to contact you, whether it is that you're pointing people to your email, you have a one-page website that people can just pop in orders, or you're using Google Forms or whatever it is. Like there's so many different ways that you can set your business up for free, that you don't necessarily have to spend so much money in the very beginning, because again, it's a side hustle. You're still trying to figure out where you are going to fall, in terms of income and stuff. And it would be a waste for people to end up spending so much money and then they end up not even continuing with it. But I do have a side hustle checklist that I have in my link in my bio. So you can check that out as well. And that lists out like 15 different points for how to prepare for your side hustle.
Love it, love it, love it. Estella. Hey, Estella. She said, I noticed a lot of people who start businesses spend more time making business cards, but have no real game plan to execute the business. That's true, right? Sometimes we're
Yeah.
always focused on the aesthetics, the pretty things, but then the strategy falls short. So you definitely
Yeah.
have to make sure the strategy is priority. That's
And
what's
it's a
going to
and
make you
that's
money, the
and,
strategy.
and I think that's also another reason why a lot of people procrastinate and never get started because they're so
Mhm.
focused on the behind the scenes, like the
Yeah.
aesthetics and trying to make everything look perfect and pretty. And it's just like,
Hmm.
Yeah.
just start.
Yeah.
That's all
Yeah.
you can do. Just start.
Hmm. And that actually led us right into the next question is what are overlooked mistakes that you see people making in the early stages of building their side hustles?
Yeah, I was gonna say exactly what you guys were already talking about. It's definitely people having the idea of the side hustle that they want to start, and they're just holding on to it because they want to make sure everything is perfected before they put it out there. But if you just put it out there and perfect it as you go along,
Right.
people will see your expertise and you'll be able to build your page. They'll see where you started and where you're going. So
Hmm.
for you to just put it out there. And this was a mistake that I made in my earlier stages as an entrepreneur. I was holding on to the idea, trying to perfect all my documents, logos, and all of that. And I spent months doing that when I could have just launched the Instagram page, had a Google form for, hey, if you're interested, hit me up on this Google form and started, doing things like that. So that's definitely a mistake I see people making in the beginning. And it's definitely putting them behind on gaining those clients and
Hmm.
getting more profits. So,
Yeah, I feel like especially in this social media era where everything has to be so perfect, a
mm,
lot of us are scared to start small.
right.
We're scared to not have the high quality logo or the high quality pictures and just everything in order. So it's like we
Yeah.
spend so much time on trying to build that versus like our product or whatever
Mhm.
merchandise we're selling. And it's just like, girl, like all that money that you're making from that product, you could reinvest that back into your business. And
Yeah.
then you could go ahead and go get the quality logo and start investing in other things that you need. But definitely don't allow the fear of starting small to hold you back from creating something that women possibly need.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. And for you, Faye, for mistakes that you've seen people make.
I think it's targeting everybody. So people will start their
Mm.
business and they'll be like, I'm like, oh, who are you trying to target? Oh, I'm opening it up to everybody.
Mhm.
Everybody? Yeah, I'm targeting all the women. All the women? Like,
Right.
you don't have an age range, you don't like, and it's just like,
Hmm.
your business is not for everybody and it's not going to be for everybody. And so they find themselves trying to like cater and serve like everyone. And it's just like, if you would just learn to niche down and be very clear and specific about who you want to serve, you would do better like selling your products because now you know how to speak to that clientele. But when you're over here talking about, well, I target, I'm selling makeup for Gen Z and the millennials and the 65 and over, and it's just like, well, sis, like, yeah, some of those people might be interested. Like, it doesn't mean that you
Right.
can't serve your products to them, but let's focus on the main clientele
Right.
that you're hitting, or the main people who are coming to you for the the product that you're selling. So yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. And also, Estella said a lot of people rely too much on their friends to be their customers, when in reality, their friends are not their clientele. It's whoever are fans of their niche market for their business.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And yourself too. A lot of people are like, "Oh, well, I'm my customer," and they
Right.
base everything off of themselves and what they
Yes.
like, and not they don't consider their target audience at all.
Yeah.
Let's talk about automation, right? Because we all want passive income. We all want to make money in our sleep. I know I do. So, can you suggest any apps, resources, or systems that help with automation? So that way you don't always have to be so active in your side hustles.
Yeah, what I use, I'm very simple. I like simple things. I don't like it to be too confusing and just overall too much. I started using Flowdesk, and I know Flowdesk is actually known to be like a email chain where you can send out the as marketing emails. However, you can set that up to do all types of automation. Like it does the trigger, it sends the email, it gives you, you now you've gained that customer to your email chain. So that's what I've been using. And I basically, for me, what's most important is building my email list so I can have insiders and give those tips to the people on my email list, stuff that I wouldn't usually put out there on social media. So yeah, Flowdesk, it does the automation. You create it, you could put pictures on it, whatever content you want. And basically the way I've started out mine is offering a freebie. And I know we'll get to that later, so I'll let Faye go.
Yeah, email automation is great. And then I guess like another automation you could think about is like how, if people want to pay you, how are they going to pay you? If somebody says, is it going to be like a situation where it's like DM me to place your order? Or is it that you already have one page set up, such as like Shopify, and somebody is able to purchase your product from that, which now ends up sending an invoice through PayPal, and it automatically goes to their email. So just being able to kind of be, I would say like more so be the customer for a second and like just kind of step back. What does that process look like from start to finish in terms of how somebody is going to purchase something from you? So if that means you're clicking a link on the bio, they end up on the Shopify, they end up, putting it into the shopping cart, and then it now triggers a PayPal invoice, and then that invoice gets sent to their email so that they can now pay you. Then I would say those are kind of like some apps that you can use. So PayPal, Shopify, Asana, Zoom. It just really depends on what area of business you're in and what you need. But there's so many things that's out there. But I'm definitely going to try out looking to Flowdesk. I've heard
Yeah, me
about
too.
it.
I got
Never
excited
used
when I
it,
heard
so.
that one. I was like, emails, let's go.
Yeah. And try to test your automations out before you put it out there, because
Yes.
I found like a glitch in mine. I was like, oh, I went down to see that. So yes,
Yeah.
please test them out before you put it out there.
Yeah.
Yes. What are some strategic ways to gain customers in a short period of time?
Oh yeah, and this is what I was going into before. So the way I've gained more customers and basically more people into my emailing list is by offering a freebie. So it's gonna, of course, depend on what industry you're in. Like for me, I'm a coach, so most of my business is online. So I offer an online freebie where people can just click, put their name and email address, and it gives them this whole freebie. And then I now gain that new relationship for a potential client. Now, if you're doing hair or if you have e-commerce products, you may want to enter a promo code for their next, order or something like that. But people like freebies, so that's how you can gain them, and they'll be able to come back, especially if you're selling something and you now give them a discount on their next order. They're most likely going to want to use that coupon. And so,
Okay.
So I was thinking, I made a face. I was like thinking, I was like, all right, from a product perspective, like what would be the quickest way? One of the, I would say like a simple way is if you have a group of friends, right before you launch or something, asking them to promote. If you can gain about 10 to 15 of your friends who are willing to like just post and say, hey, so and so, go check out my friend. And it's not to, not to say that you'll get a lot of people, but if 15 of your friends post, and out of those friends who posted, two of their friends who don't know you discover your business and they're actually interested in it, then that's a quick way for you to be able to kind of gain some traction when you haven't really kind of got your footing in terms of like being able to reach your ideal customer. So that's another
Yeah.
way.
And how can you leverage social media, right? Because everything is on social media now. So how do you leverage social media, especially when it comes to, building your client base for your side hustle?
yeah, I would definitely say social media is beneficial, definitely for the ads feature. If people are interested in ads, you can put an ad out there and you can literally base it off of your target market. Like, who do you want to target? Where are they located? What's their age ranges? Break down the demographics that way. So that's a good feature. Of course, promoting on your own profile so people can see your products or see your services. see your expertise and what you have to offer. And then also just like the insights feature, like I love that. Like it tells me
Yeah.
who's been interacting with my posts or what posts do they engage with the most, you know, the posts that they engage with the least. Oh, maybe I'll do less of that and more of what they like to see. So it's the insights, you know, it just gives me a gauge on what my audience likes to see, what they like to hear, what they're actually reading, what they're not reading. So I definitely think social media is great for those things.
Yeah, and I also think consistency on social media. I think once you figure out which
Yeah.
social media your target market is, like where they're located, just being consistent, because your goal with social media is not to just be present and just there, but you want to build a community. Like
Yes.
really having customers is really just about building a community of people who support you and will, you know, if you say you're going live, they're going to be like, well, I'm coming on that live, you know, as well to see what you're talking about. Or, you know, if you say you selling something, they're like, I'm lining up because there's nothing that there's nothing that you've like told me that I haven't done that hasn't worked, or there's nothing you've sold that I haven't loved. Like really building a community on social media, and you can find that community through using hashtags. You can find that community through just simply having the right words in your bio, you know, and in your headlines. You can find that community just by, you know, posting a story and popping up every day and engaging the people who are following you with, you know, your story and asking them what their thoughts are. Like it's really just about using social media to build a community, so that when it does come to you actually having when you do come and sell things, it's not like, oh, you're just there to sell, but it's like, nah, this feels like this is my home girl. You know what I mean? So,
Right.
you know, definitely social media is very big when it comes to, you know, when it comes to like selling things. And I think the biggest thing is building that community.
Yeah. And I think authenticity too, right?
Yeah.
People want to see who's behind the brand. They want
Yeah.
to know that it's a real person. And sometimes people just support you just because of who you are. Sometimes they don't even like necessarily need or want what you're selling, but just off of the strength of you, your personality, and your message, people will buy. And
Yeah.
another thing, this wasn't a part of the questions that I had, but something that just came to mind, especially with social media. I feel like a lot of people, especially when they're starting off businesses, whether they're side hustles or whether they're trying to turn this into a full-time entrepreneurship gig, they get discouraged by followers. But they
Mhm.
don't understand that just because you have a lot of followers does not mean all of those followers convert into paying customers. So with the clients you ladies have worked with, like how many followers did they have and how much money, were they making?
Some of them only had like a couple of hundreds. It's funny because I was literally just talking to a client about this last week. They were asking me like what were my thoughts on buying followers. And I was like, no, we are not doing that. Like,
Yeah.
because somebody can have 1 million followers and they got like 15 likes. And it's just
Right.
like the math is not adding up. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like
You telling
the
on yourself.
engagement is not, you know, it's not there, making make sense. So I was like, you know, it's not about how many followers you have. It's about, again, going back to that community aspect, like people really feeling like they actually like what you're bringing to the table. They enjoy your brand. They love what you're offering. Like you can have 50 people and all 50 buy, you know, just you can have 100 people and maybe 20 or 30 of them buy at the moment. But as you continue to be consistent, maybe you come back around in 2 months or 3 months and they're like, I didn't have money the last time, but you've been consistent and I love what you're offering. So I'm going to make sure I don't miss it this go round and buy it, buy what you have.
Right.
So you don't need 1,000, 2,000, 3,000. You can literally make money with the smallest amount of followers and go from there. And also just kind of addressing what Kacy had said before about the email list. When you have that freebie in that email list, maybe you only have 50 to 100 people who have opted in, but the reality is those people went an extra mile to be on your list and actually really love what you're offering. So
Right.
those people alone, they're willing to they're like, well, let me know what you have. They've already proven that they're interested in what it is that you're offering. So yeah, no, you don't need a lot of people at all.
Yeah.
Right. And then
Oh,
go ahead, Kacy.
yeah, I was just going to say you also don't have to have a lot of followers because once you've converted to the Instagram business profile and you start posting, you'll see, you may not be getting a lot of likes or all of that, but there was a post going around one day that I reposted. It was just like somebody's always watching. So as long as you're consistent with your post and all that, somebody's watching, somebody's interested. And then along with what you're posting, you can see how many saves you have. So you're like, okay, so eventually, this can turn into something. People are saving, people are liking what I'm posting, so that can eventually turn into more money, more opportunities, and more clients for your business.
Yep.
Yeah. And a lot of the people who are making the most money, sometimes they don't even get to be as active on social media because they're so behind the scenes. So
Hmm.
definitely don't let the followers fool you.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
don't let the followers fool you. And another thing too, which you mentioned, Kacy, is like looking at your insights. If you're buying followers, your insights are going to be all messed up because they're not based on, an authentic group of people. Like most of these are bots. You know what I'm saying? It's like
Yeah.
it's to me it's there's nothing beneficial. It's just kind of like a vanity thing, in my
Yeah.
opinion. How many side hustles do you think you should take on at a time as a beginner, right? Because we are talking about building multiple streams of income, but I think there needs to be some strategy behind how you build those streams of income. Like you can't jump out the park like trying to do five things at one time. So how do you ladies advise your clients?
Yeah, I was just going to say, I tell people you need to start out with that one, because you can't start out with two and then you're building two different things at one time. Now once you start having experience doing it and you want to start building something else, but you need to start out with that one, see how it's going, see how people are, engaging with it. Are people buying from you? Are people enjoying what you have to contribute? So I definitely say start out with that one, because you're also, if you're new to it, you're going to also have to gauge, how am I going to do this outside of my 9 to 5? So you can't just jump into something and try to build several things at one time, and this is your first time doing it. So my advice is definitely start out with that one thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. She said everything. You only need to start off. You
Yeah.
only need to start off with one. You don't need nothing more.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And my next question, which I'm sure a lot of women want to know, is about time management. So, what is your advice to women who want to know how they can successfully juggle their side hustles as well as their 9 to 5s?
Yeah, so I was just gonna say, when you start out, like for me, I keep a planner. So if I know I'm busy during the week and I have a free weekend coming up, I'm gonna plan that week. I'm gonna use that weekend to plan for my business. I might use 3 hours in the morning because I feel like I'm more productive when I first wake up. So 3 hours on Saturday, 3 hours on Sunday. So that's 6 hours over the weekend that I've
Mhm.
worked on my business. And I mean, at the end of the day, that's something you have to figure out depending on what you're doing. Because
Right.
if you're hair or you're braiding hair, you don't want to start at 5 o'clock. When you get off work, you'll be doing that all night. So you have to just gauge, you have to make a schedule, see how much time is required in order for your side hustle to be successful. And then also another tip I would just say for women starting, don't do your side hustle at work. Do not work on your side hustle in between your 9 to 5, because that can just go into the quality of your work that you're doing at your 9 to 5 as well as your side hustle. Things can get mixed up, and your clients with your side hustle are going to notice, and your boss is going to notice it too. So that's my, just don't do that. Yeah.
Great advice. Thanks.
um, I think as far as time management goes, jotting, I think one, having a list of what it is that you want to do in advance. But I also think like when it just comes to building your business as a whole, just kind of drafting out all the tasks that you have that are in your business. Like what is everything that needs to get done in your business so that you, one, know, is this something that I can outsource? I know we talked about virtual assistants a little earlier, but you can find a virtual assistant as little as like $5 to $10 an hour or something. Maybe you need to allocate, somebody responding to your emails or something like that, and that is off your list so that you have more time and you don't have to focus so much on that. But I think taking your tasks for the week or just for the month or just in your business as a whole, and then basically allocating days like on Mondays, I specifically, maybe you answer the email. Mondays, I answer emails. On Tuesdays, I ship, I pack all of my orders.
Yeah.
Wednesdays is my shipping day. Thursdays is this day, where I attend to customer service, whatever it is, like just really outlining your week and being able to say, this is what I do. What I usually tell people is like, as long as you can dedicate an hour a day in your business, then you're doing more than nothing. So whether it's, if you have an hour and it's like, okay, for 10 minutes, I'm going to set my timer to be undisturbed for 10 minutes and I'm going to specifically work on this. And then for the next 15 minutes, once that timer is up, I'm working on this, and just like really being very specific about your time so that it's like, okay, you're getting the stuff done. And then also just for like, because I'm a mom, so I can say right now that sometimes you have a to-do list and it does not get done. Life happens and maybe it just doesn't happen the way that you had planned. That's okay. You can easily just roll it on to the next day and hope that it gets done. But, just give yourself some grace. For any woman out there. Just extend grace because life does happen. But yeah.
Yeah, I love that. Segmenting, what you were talking about, like instead of having a long to-do list, you say Monday, this is my day to do this, Tuesday, this is my day to do that. That has actually worked for me. Like I've noticed that it's made me more productive. Because sometimes when we have these long to-do lists, we get so intimidated by them, right?
Yeah.
Because we can't even digest like, I got to do this, I got to do that. But definitely segmenting and prioritizing your days, a game changer for sure. Someone asks, what is a realistic job for a stay-at-home mom? So I'm assuming she's asking, what is a realistic side hustle for stay-at-home moms?
I think kind of like what we talked about earlier, just digital, any type of digital type of side hustle would be really good. We talked about the virtual assistants. If you know that, you're very good with organizing or something like that, just anything that's in the digital realm, like taking if you have any type of skill and you could package it into something that's good. Let's say maybe you're you're great with interior design. Maybe you can't physically go into people's houses and decorate their homes, but maybe you can create little layouts for them. Like they can take pictures of what their home looks like and you are good with sketching. And you could package that into something where you're doing consultation services for people's homes and you're charging $300, $400. You're doing that all in the comfort of your home. So my advice to the person who asks that is to just really think about what skill sets you have and think about how you can turn that and package that into a digital concept.
Yeah, and I was actually going to say the same thing what Faye said. I'm a mom as well, and like I was telling Anna earlier, what inspired me to start the side hustle business is basically I was a mom and I wanted to spend more time with my child. I was just like, I work in the 9 to 5. I have a side hustle, but the side hustle that I have requires me to be available my whole weekend. So I'm not spending time with my child like I want to be. So I was like, I want to start a business where I make my own schedule and I'm in the comfort of my own home, but I'm still generating business and generating funds. So I was just like, hey, well, I can coach people, I can teach people and how to strategize and how to start their own side hustles out of 9 to 5 because I'm doing it myself. So that's what inspired me to start the side hustle business.
Someone asks, which is better, expanding a business or starting new businesses? I'm not quite sure if I understand that, but I think you touched on that, Faye, when you said you don't necessarily have to create something new. You could join something that's already been created, like a Uber Eats or.
And I think they might mean from a perspective of, is it better? Because I guess how I'm thinking about it is if you're expanding your business, the thing is you could take one business and expand it into different branches. You could take one, I guess, idea or skill and turn it into something like a book. You can turn it into a course. You can turn it into a consultation. You can turn it into multiple things. So that's you expanding your services and your business, but still focusing on one specific skill. Or, if you're doing a new business, then it becomes that you're doing a new business and you're constantly having to start over all the time. So I don't know if that's what they meant, but I think it's really just up to you. I know, Anna, we talked about earlier me being in the nonprofit industry for 6 years, and me burning out and deciding that, okay, I needed something new to begin. So it's really just about where you are, what season you're in, and what the desires of your heart are.
Right. I see another question here. Hi, Core. What website do you recommend for finding someone who you can outsource work to, like building websites or editing videos?
I actually had a whole reel about this. Go
I
ahead.
go through Fiverr.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Fiverr? Okay.
Yeah.
That's what you use as well?
Yeah, no, there's Fiverr, there's TaskRabbit, there's People Per Hour, there's a couple of them. If I don't know if that person's still watching, but I have a whole reel on like 10 different apps you can get to outsource information, and that will give you all the websites you need.
How do you ladies feel about Airbnbs? Because I noticed that they said like there's been a shortage lately of Airbnb hosts.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you feel about the Airbnb space?
I think it's a good space.
yeah.
I mean, I was listening to a podcast by Earn Your Leisure a couple of months ago about a girl who specifically does Airbnb. She does short-term rentals where she doesn't even own all the property, but she has short-term rentals and she turns them into Airbnbs. And she was making a pretty penny on a monthly basis for Airbnbs. I think if it's something that you're interested in, I say why not? I mean, especially in this day and age where everyone has felt like they've been so like choked up being at home for the last year and a half. People are looking to travel and stay places and do staycations and stuff. So
Yeah,
I think it's a great industry.
Yeah, I think too. It's definitely a part of that real estate industry that I plan to do and just learn more about all of it. So I've seen people making a lot of money of it. So it's definitely something I'm going to start, learning about as well.
yeah, same, definitely. Do you ladies have any additional advice for the women watching, and how can prospective clients connect with you in your communities?
I would just say my best advice is just to know, just plan out what you want to do, know where you want to start. And if you need help, always reach out to your resources for help before starting that business. You can always have somebody look over it, even a friend or a family member just to give you their quick opinion. But if you need professional advice, I could definitely help you. I help women start their side hustles, build their current side hustles, and retain side hustles that people have been doing for a while that might need a revamp. So you guys can reach out through me through my Instagram. It's at Side Hustle Strategist, and you can book a consultation call with me. I'd be glad to go through what your issues are or what you're having problems with, and just help you succeed in your side hustle.
I think I guess from my perspective, biggest advice is to just get started. If you have a side hustle, 9 times out of 10, there's a side hustle that's in you. It's just about pulling it out, discovering it, and identifying it. If you need help with doing that, like I said, I have a skill side hustle checklist that'll help you just in figuring out what the foundation is to getting started with the side hustle. If you need help identifying the side hustle, I have a free mini course called Skills That Sells that helps you figure out what's the most profitable side hustle that exists in you. My Instagram has tons of information, free information that will point you in whatever resource that you need to be able to, pull out that side hustle and really just grow your business. So that's that. And then, of course, if you're interested in booking a consultation with me, then you can click the link in my bio and we can have a conversation one-on-one about how to build that strategy for your side hustle, discover your side hustle, or whatever it is that you need. But biggest thing, there's a side hustle that exists in you. Go ahead and get started, figure out your side hustle, and don't allow fear or insecurity or not knowing a lot of people or whatever it is that's stopping you from having that side hustle. Don't allow any of those to be the reason for why you never get started.
Yes. And what about that podcast, Faye?
Oh yeah, girl.
New episodes.
You
What's up?
You see how I just completely just bypass it? Yes. So I have the Side Hustlepreneur podcast. So everything is the Side Hustlepreneur. I have the Side Hustlepreneur page and then the Side Hustle podcast. Even though I haven't updated an episode in, I think this year, but well, no, later in this year. But I am coming back because I have so many people doing amazing things that I just want to share. But yeah, you can check out the Side Hustle podcast, which is available everywhere as well.
I love it. Ladies, thank you so much for your time. This was so fun. I learned a lot. I know the people watching learned a lot. It was a pleasure. Have a great night, everyone.
Thanks for having me.
Bye.
Bye.